In today's video tutorial, we are making a bucket bag, a beautiful bucket bag, and this particular video tutorial is going to be the part 2 of this video. I have the part 1 already on my YouTube channel.
Do not forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more updates.
On the main panel, remember we are using leather, thick leather for interfacing, and I have drafted out the patterns in the part 1 of this video. If you have not watched it, I'm going to be leaving a link up here where you can watch. In order not to waste interfacing, I'll just take the template paper up a bit. So we are trying to economize it. That we have marked out. Just cut on it. So I'm just cutting out another one of this to make it 2. For the access panel, for this part of the bag, remember the length here to here is 3 inches and here to here is 15 inches, which is the same width with the body of the bag. And I'm going to be using this template to cut out this part, which is the same measurement with this top part. So that means I'm going to be cutting out 2. Cut out 1. So I'm just going to cut out the second one now using this template paper. I'll take this ruler. I'm going to straighten these lines out. This part is for this, and this 9.5 inches by 3 inches. We'll cut it out now. I've cut out the main panel. I've cut out 2, and I've cut out 4 of these. For this part, the bottom of the bag. Remember we talked about the measurements. I'm using the wrong side of the interfacing. In this case, I'm using just a very thick leather to mark out the bottom part of the bag. Okay, here is it. I'm just going to cut on this line. So I'll cut part out so that it will be easy for me to work with. What we're going to be using instead of this, guys. In the panel for the bucket bag, I'm just going to be applying gum. You let it dry first before you place it. So I'm just going to apply gum on the edges because I'm going to be folding in like this, spreading gum out. So I've applied gum on the second main panel. I'm just going to lay it on this fabric, the wrong side of the fabric. I'm going to cut out the part I want to work with. What you're going to have. And this is the second panel. Okay, you have to wrap. This particular bag does not need wrapping because we are going to be putting this side by side with this. Okay, and so by the time we sew, the raw edges is going to cover up. So the only part we are going to be wrapping with Ankara prints is just the main panel. This same leather I used as the bag interfacing. The same leather I'm going to be using for the top asset panel, this, and this other parts. This one that goes vertical on the bag, we're going to be folding it by 1 inch. We're going to be marking out ½ inch because we're going to be folding towards that ½ inch mark. After folding, we're going to have 2 inches instead of 3 inches. I'm just going to apply gum on this side of the stiffener, the bag stiffener. I'm checking to see that there's no gum here where it can get stained. going to come like this. So I'm just going to top stitch down on it. There are 4 of these. I'm just going to do the remaining 3 now. So guys, I've actually applied gum to the 3 of them. This is the barrow mark here. So I'm just going to fold like this. I've gummed the 4 of them. The width is 2 inches and the length is 9.5 inches. From the edge, I'm just going to be measuring out 2.5 inches where we are going to be placing discs. So once I've measured it out like this, I'm just going to connect them. So this is where this is going to go. I'll mark this one out too. To place it beside this mark, and this other one is going to be beside this mark. I'll take it to the sewing machine now. I'm going to sew on it. So I've applied a bit of oil, machine oil. And at the top, I'm using a blue thread so it can match with the leather color. The same leather I use interface seat, also known as artificial leather. It's not a real leather. You're allowed to wrap with whatever contrasting fabric you want to use. So following that line as a guide, add a bit of machine oil, because it's an external stitch. We want everything to be very neat. This one on this line, beside the line, you can clip it in place if you don't want it to move around. Alright, so I'll just sew a kind of false stitch from here down to this place. Okay, I'm sure that this edge of the machine foot is at the edge of this folded part. My hand, because this is an external stitch to be seen, so just make sure the stitch is neat. I'm just going to sew this to this padding now, just the same way we did this. Okay. Excess parts, I'm just going to trim it off. 2 of it sewn. Alright, don't forget we are making something similar to this. Next part I'm going to be sewing on is attaching this other part to it and this part to it, which are the asset panels. So I'm just going to take the right side of the synthetic leather. I'll take the right side of this Ankara fabric, which is also known as Africa print. I'll put them together like this. Okay, I'm not wrapping, it's thick enough, you don't need to wrap. Clip them, just clip them in place. Then I'm going to sew at 1/2 inch seam allowance on it. Thereafter I'm going to bend it like this. I'm going to top stitch on this part, but before then I'm going to mark out 1/2 inch seam allowance where I'm going to be sewing on. Take note that this tutorial is mostly for beginners, so I'm just taking it step by step. We're going to measure out 1/2 inch, then sew on that 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to be measuring out 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'll put machine oil if you want. I'll sew on it. So I'm sewing on that line. This line here is going to act as a guide. I've sewn on this 1/2 inch mark. I'm just going to bend it like this. Okay, I'm going to top stitch on it like this. It's a bit hard, like, because we are sewing layers of fabrics together right now. So the right side of this authentic leather is going to be on this right side, the right side of the Ankara print. So I'm just going to clip them in place like this. Then I'm going to mark up 1/2 inch where I'm going to be sewing on. I'm just going to be sewing on this line, this 1/2 inch mark. Okay, let's go back stitch. I'm just going to top stitch. I'll just put a bit of matching on back stitch first. To cut out the lining, I'm going to be using this as a template. The line is going to be the same length with this, which is the length from here to here and the width from here to here. The length of this bag is 13 inches. 13 inches by the width. The width is 15 inches. Okay, so that means the line is going to be 13 by 15 inches. That's what you're going to cut out. But there's something important I want to say, guys. For the length, instead of taking 13 inches, I would advise you to take 12.5 inches. If you take 13 inches, it's not bad. But the reason I will advise you to take 12.5 inches is because at the time you sew the lining to it, it kind of bulges out. Do you understand? To make it a bit fitted and a bit tight against the external, I will advise you to take 12.5 inches for the length instead of 13 inches. So in that case, you're going to be taking 12.5 inches by 15 inches. So that will be your measurement of the lining. I'm going to be sewing this and this together. I'll ensure that the asset panels here, this, are aligned first. So that should be your number one priority. You align them, then you come to this other asset panel too. Ensure that they are aligned. Okay, so I'll do the same thing here. I'm going to be sewing from this point to this point, also from this point to this point. I'm taking 1/2 inch where I'm going to be sewing on, and this is going to be the seam allowance. If your machine foot has the 1/2 inch seam allowance, you don't have to measure, you just use that one as a guide. I'm just going to raise this. You can open it like this, so you'll be able to sew through it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to back stitch across it again. So I want you to be strong there at that point. going to back stitch now out. Be able to sew it together now. I'm going to be sewing this bottom panel to this bag that we've already sewn. So to do this, what you do first, you're going to fold it into two like this, okay, and you cut a notch. I've cut a notch. You also fold this other side into two. Ensure that the seam line, this seam line is on top of this seam line. Then you fold into two, you cut a notch. Then you take your bottom panel, you fold into two, you cut a notch here. You fold this into two, you cut a notch. You fold this into two, you cut a notch. You fold this into two, you cut a notch. Okay, so once we've done that, I'm going to be marking around it ½ inch where we are going to be sewing on. Take this part that is notched, I'll put it on this notch part, okay, then I'll clip it in place. So I'll take this other side that is notched, okay, I'll put it on this notch part of the bag. I'll lay them on top of each other like this. Then I'll take this notch part, I'll lay it on this seam line. Okay, I'll lay it on this same line. I'll clip it. Then I'll turn to this other side. You take this notched part, lay on this same line too. Then I'll clip it. Then I'm just going to align them. Make sure everything is fit. The measurements and the cutting out of the templates, I have done that in the part 1 of this video. And if you have not watched that video, the video is going to be at the top corner of this particular video. I'm going to be leaving the video up here, so make sure you watch it, part 1 of this video, where I did the cutting and the measurements of this bucket bag. So I'm just trying to clip everything in place. So I'm just going to sew around it, following this mark, this barrow mark that we made. It's ½ inch back stitch. So I'm just sewing. I'm sewing on this barrow mark, the pen mark that we drew, the ½ inch mark. Make sure you sew all around it. So this time you just have to be careful. When I get to this part that is curved, I'll kind of follow that shape, the curved shape. Use my hand tools, just smoothing out, ensuring that there's no fold. So I'm trying to put my eye here, there's no puckering there. Off the excess, trim off the excess seam allowance. So you trim off before you turn out. So before you trim, I advise you to check to see that there's no puckering, nothing is poking out. You don't cut all your stitches. Trim this. So we are going to, it's almost dark now, we are going to be ending this tutorial here today. So the next part is going to be part 3, where we're going to be fixing the line. Is recoat. You can always iron it. poke out the corners. See the bag is fine. It's coming out. I'm not we are doing something like it, something similar to this. The bucket bag is coming up. So fine. So I love the way it's turning out. Next part is going to be fixing the lining, the handle, and the drug string, then attaching the eyelets to it. Okay, so I'm going to be leaving the part 1 on this corner of the phone. So if you have not subscribed to my channel, guys, what are you waiting for? I've done a lot of live stream on how you can fix this bag handle. I also did a live stream on how to get this kind of handle. All right, so if you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Watch all my live streams. My live streams are for beginners. Make sure you watch everything. Subscribe. Do not forget to turn on the notification bell to get notified every time I upload new video. Okay, so it's really dark here. It's really dark. It's past 7 o'clock local time, so I'm just going to close now so we can continue on Monday. I'm not coming to work on Sunday. Have a blessed Sunday. Have a blessed night. Love you to the moon and back. Thank you for your support, and bye.